Hey guys, and welcome to day 14. And today we're looking at Jesus. Shall I do a bloopers roll as well? Real. Anyway, today we're talking about Jesus' praise for his people from John chapter 17, verses 9 to 19. I'm praying for them. I'm not praying for the world, but for the people you've given me. They belong to you. All mine are yours, all yours are mine, and I'm glorified in them. I'm not in the world any longer, but they're still in the world. I'm coming to you, Holy Father. Keep them in your name, the name you've given me, so that they may be one, just as we are one. When I was with them, I kept them in your name, the name you've given me. I guarded them, and none of them has been destroyed, except the son of destruction. That's what the Bible said would happen. But now I'm coming to you. I'm speaking these things in the world so that they can have my joy fulfilled in them. I have given them your word. The world hated them because they are not from the world, just as I am not from the world. I'm not asking that you should take them out of the world, but that you should keep them from the evil one. They didn't come from the world, just as I didn't come from the world. Set them apart for yourself in the truth. Your word is truth. Just as you sent me into the world, so I sent them into the world, and on their account I set myself apart for you, so that they too may be set apart for you in the truth. In the newspapers recently, a mother was punished by the courts. She had left her two young children entirely by themselves while she went off for a foreign holiday with her new boyfriend. The father, it seems, was nowhere to be found. It is hard to believe that a mother could do such a thing. One wonders what she thought she would find when she got home. Tragically, such things happen in our world today. But supposing she herself had had loving parents who were only too glad to look after the children while she was away, that would have made all the difference. She could have entrusted the little ones to them, safe in the knowledge that they would care for them as much as she did. One can imagine a mother in that situation giving her parents detailed instructions as to how each child should be looked after, not because she didn't trust her parents to look after them, because she did. What Jesus now prays grows out of the fact that he is going away. He is entrusting the disciples to the Father. He is known and loved throughout his entire earthly life. The Father who he knows will care for them every bit as much as he has done himself. He is very much aware that the disciples are at risk. The world, which hates them as it hated him, will threaten and abuse them. They don't belong to it, but they are to be sent into it, and they need protecting. That's what the prayer is about. This section begins with a description of who Jesus' followers are. They are the ones the Father has given to Jesus. They already belong to him, and Jesus is handing them back into his safekeeping. They are distinct from the world insofar as they are the new cleansed people they have become through Jesus' call in teaching. They are not from the world. This can seem puzzling, and we better explain it a bit more. Jesus is not suggesting that his followers don't possess human ancestry, homes and families and physical bodies which one day will die and decay. The world in this gospel doesn't mean simply the physical universe as we know it. It means the world insofar as it has rebelled against God. God has chosen darkness. That was totally wrong. I could have got some serious bloopers from this one. Let's try that again. In the gospel doesn't mean simply the physical universe as we know it. It means the world insofar as it has rebelled against God, has chosen darkness rather than light, and has organized itself to oppose the Creator. Seen from within the world, Jesus is from elsewhere. So too we now discover to our surprise are the disciples. In other words, the world, in this dark sense, is not the place, the force, the sphere that determines who the disciples most truly are. What they now need, therefore, is to be kept from being pulled back into the world with all of its wickedness and rebellion. During his public ministry, teaching them and leading them, Jesus had looked after them, like the shepherd with his sheep. Now, because he is coming to the Father, he is entrusting them to the Father, who will continue the work of keeping them safe. He therefore addresses the Father as holy, and declares that he is setting himself apart so that his disciples too may be set apart. The word for setting apart is basically the same word for holy, but our word holy, when applied to people, can give a sense of overpious religiousness, which is foreign to the New Testament. What is holiness in Jesus' world. In first century Judaism, holiness called to mind the temple in particular. It was the holy place, the place where the holy God had promised to live. It referred particularly to the Holy of Holies, the innermost shrine where the high priest would go once a year to make atonement for the people. The high priest had to go through special ceremonies of consecration to be set apart, so that he could enter into the presence of the holy God and pray there for his people. In exactly the same way, Jesus is declaring that he has been all along set apart, consecrated for God exclusive service. Now, like the high priest, he is asking the Father to preserve his people from evil, from the tricks and traps of the world. He wants them to be his holy people in the best and fullest sense. What Jesus has already done for them is to keep them in the Father's name and to give them his word. In other words, when he now entrusts them to the Father, this won't mean a sudden change, like a mother entrusting her children to someone of whom they'd never heard of and whose house will be run on quite different lines from their own house. He has already taught them, so to speak, the table manners appropriate for the Father's house. In praying for them now, he is simply praying that what he has begun, the Father will gloriously complete. The prayer has been used for many centuries by pastors, teachers, and other Christian leaders as they pray for those in their care. It can also, with only slight variation, be used by Christians of all sorts for themselves. Substitute Jesus where the prayer says I, and replace they and them with I and me, and you'll get the idea. But be careful, this is a serious prayer. It is one of the most serious things Jesus ever said. That's why deep down it is also among the most joyful and hopeful. Pray it with awe and with delight. So for reflection today, in what ways do you resonate with the idea of being in the world, but not of the world? How do you navigate the tension between belonging to the broken world and being called to live as a follower of Jesus? This kind of idea of being in the world is basically succumbing to its temptations and not living by the way that Jesus wants us to live, which by doing so puts us in the world with God. Consider the concept of being set apart or holy as described in the passage. How does this understanding challenge common perceptions of holiness? How can you cultivate a sense of being set apart for God's service in your daily life? I've always found this interesting in that I've read before about how people say that you should do everything for God's glory and that you should be set apart by living everything that you do for God. So I always found really interesting that people often use the example of even do the washing up for God's glory. Why on earth would God feel glorified by you doing the washing up for him? I mean, he doesn't need the clean dishes. We're the ones that are dirty and that need cleansing from within and have to ask for continuous forgiveness. So what does that mean to you guys? I'd be really interested to know in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.